hatred has history.
And my interest in seeing a literal redneck triathlon runs cold, although considering the idea of that makes my own blood boil. Holy shit, WWE gave me Bad Blood before Bad Blood even began. Alright, I'll leave you with the win this time and a sin removed, but don't test me.
This will not be for the weak at heart.
This match will not be for the weak of heart cliche. Since this is the first Bad Blood event I'm sitting that has this stage, I'll take off a sin because the set was simple yet awesome at the same time, with those blood drops hanging from the ceiling. Goes to show that you don't need some over-the-top production to make a stage look cool. Just one nice little detail was all it will take to look cool. Gonna take off another sin because I love the graphics showcasing the names of the wrestlers, their names floating over a rapidly flowing river of blood. You love to see it.
Why is your white brother always ordering?
A white man trying to convince a black man that he's being ordered around by another white man. I get that Christopher Nowinski is trying to break up the Dudley Boys, but bringing in the race isn't really going to help it. This is poetic. The Dudley Boys always say get the tables, then you get Teddy Long on the other side who ends up basically saying get the tag team matches and one-on-one matches with The Undertaker.
We expect a very quick pace.
Be careful what you say, Jim Ross. We could be getting a fast-paced match, but then everything slows down into New York City travel speed for the remainder.
I'm taking down the Rodney back. You know,
Translation from the crowd, we want disqualifications.
we will there for a moment. Here comes
Christopher Nowinski really isn't that bright, expects the Dudley Boys to overreact and get themselves disqualified when he bumped into Bubba Ray Dudley, and instead Bubba tags himself in to cause damage legally. Maybe he's called Nowinski because he always seems to be taking L's and get no wins.
struck the surgery on his nose. How much did that cost? I heard about $30,000.
The United States healthcare system.
A train right there. Oh, and Nowinski does.
What are the odds that Christopher Nowinski will try to use this against Devon Dudley by asking him why Bubba Ray didn't let him throw his opponent over the top rope first?
Distracted and bowling.
Rodney Mack is addicted to Devon's Dudleys, and yet somehow this will be on Bubba Ray according to Christopher because he didn't get there in time to save his partner.
The submission move and double.
Dubba? Does this mean he got his ring name changed from Bubba Ray to Dubba Day? Dubba Day Dudley? That is 3 Ds. Huh. When I look at the list of events for this redneck triathlon, I really wish it landed on bull riding, because I do wonder if WWE would actually go through with having a bull appear in the arena for this occasion. Might just make the triathlon somewhat tolerable.
Bake off. Pie eating.
Obvious rigged wheel was obvious, given it wouldn't suddenly stop that quickly from the speed it was spinning at. Out of all the items they could have landed on, they're missing out on things that would make this triathlon far more entertaining than what we are watching right now. Monster truck rallies, demolition derby, but nope, we're gonna settle for burping contests. Matter of fact, I'm throwing in 100 sins simply for the existence of what's about to be the most waste of time and obviously edited burping contest I've ever seen. What a damn shame that WWE is mocking us by showing a chainsaw for a potential chainsaw contest as shown on the wheel but will never be used. Although that might be for the best considering it could turn this whole thing into the 5,000th remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We are in Texas after all. Sadly, that is the only realistic burp we get in this entire burping contest. So to me, Eric Bischoff wins this match because every other burp afterward was obviously fake. Went from vomiting in his mouth to a sudden loud burp. I would say that's unrealistic, but that once literally happened to me in high school. Thought I was going to be sick, went to the bathroom, and then, well, that happened. So I send this for reminding me of that. WWE remembered when they did a tournament to get the managerial services of Terry Runnels and figured this would work a second time, only with a portrayal of an abusive relationship that ends up turning into a bigger nightmare, which honestly was one of the worst ideas done in the entire Ruthless Aggression era. Boy, that's quite a way to start this brawl. Hey, get your hands off her, you monster! Oh shit, faceplant!
I think at one time she...
Scott Steiner was so angry at Tess for being aggressive towards Stacy Keibler, but figures now is the perfect time to start Big Papa pumping his biceps.
Oh, here we go.
Asking for timeouts on a guy who wants to kick your ass and take your girl, followed by utilizing said girl as a human shield. Abusive relationships are always uncomfortable to watch. Yikes, Test is in a storyline where he's abusing Stacy Keibler, and what he does is strut around like he's supposed to be Mr. McMahon. Please tell me that wasn't on purpose. My only conclusion for Scott Steiner falling in the ring was because it was slippery, since Test missed the elbow completely in that exchange. This is why you put up caution wet floor signs. Congratulations, Scott, you are so strong with those crazy muscles, but you also almost injured Tess severely in that landing. Pay less attention to Stacy and more attention to what you're doing in the ring. Honestly, there was no need for Stacy Keibler to get on the ring apron to warn the referee of Tess tearing apart the turnbuckle, since the referee was already berating Tess for doing that. Test wants to ensure that he keeps Stacy Keibler by his side, but goes on to risk disqualification with a chair, which would cause Scott Steiner to win Stacy's services and foil his plans to keep the relationship going on.
I've heard enough burps. I'm tired of them. I'm sick of it.
Something I said about burping humor in the Sins video somehow made its way into this Bad Blood event from 21 years ago.
I think Stone Cold Steve Austin should be a great host.
Talking in the third person to the one standing in front of you. It's one thing for Stone Cold Steve Austin to talk in the third person about himself, but for Eric to refer to Steve in the third person while literally talking to him? Nah. Also, with all due respect, there's like 4 women here. Why can't both of you perform the pie eating contest at the same time? It ain't weird unless they start eating each other. Okay, let me stop.
I get to pick which flavor of pie.
I don't even have to hear the famous piano notes to know that Steve Austin is about to trick Eric Bischoff with Mae Young. The match has just started and Jerry Lawler was already criticizing Booker T's mother for failure to raise him properly for reasons unknown. Look, can we not with the taunting of Booker T in 2003, please?
Think there'll be any leftovers in that pie eating contest?
Well, considering you are not part of the Redneck Triathlon, nor are you a resident of Texas, you're more than likely shit out of luck.
Oh my God! That could be all of Booker.
Considering the back body drop has won matches for Booker T about 0% of his career, I doubt that was ever going to defeat Christian Jr.
You thought Booker T was gonna come out?
Not gonna lie, that looked like a fun ride. Christian leaps off the second rope, gets caught by Booker T, who executes a perfect flapjack. Going down, then up, then back down again. Whee!
And all of these people, half of them are former parole officers.
All this criticizing of Booker T being a criminal and referring to the fans cheering for him as his parole officers reminds me of how much I hated the creative viewpoint of Booker T in 2003.
I went to Booker T's old neighborhood. The guy came up and asked me, he said, have you seen any cops around here?
So much stereotypical racism and it's causing me to not be able to enjoy this match at all. What the fuck was WWE thinking here? Because it's so irritating, I'm giving this 1,000 sins. Spinaroonie before actually winning the match is what causes Booker T to eventually lose the match. Save that for after the celebration, not during the match.
If you do not return to this ring, you will forfeit the Intercontinental Championship.
Since when are referees allowed to change the rules on the spot? And if they can do this for Christian walking away to get intentionally counted out and retain his title here, then why did they never do that for literally every single occasion where a heel champion does this method? We have found a huge freaking plot hole right here.
Get back, Christian!
And on top of that, the referee is counting faster than he normally does because he is showing way too much favoritism.
Oh, come on!
Since the referee can just randomly choose to change the rules of a match on the spot, why didn't he award the Intercontinental Championship to Booker T after Christian got himself intentionally disqualified? If he can force Christian to be stripped of the title by countout, can he do the same on disqualifications? Because I'm so confused, I'm giving this another 50 sins.
It's time now for the second stage.
This pie-eating contest of the Redneck Triathlon goes on for the next 15 minutes, and so far, this has been an absolutely terrible event, just like the first Bad Blood.
You remember that little discussion we had?
Steve Austin continues to ramble about the discussion he and Eric Bischoff shared backstage, as he mentions it literally twice in 30 seconds. Remember that little discussion we had? Yeah, we just talked about it right now, why do you ask again? Obviously, Steve Austin is trying to surprise Eric Bischoff with Mae Young, but the camera shouldn't have cut to the backstage area where the 4 ladies are sitting around doing nothing but watching the show. Should have at least put them in gorilla so it would look like they were waiting to get chosen.
They should call you Eric Jerkoff. Can I say that on TV?
Sounds good to me. We're about 5 years too early for the PG era. Steve Austin tells us all to get a good look at the 4 women backstage, but the camera shows only 3 of them. The 4th one was probably not so gorgeous and was told to remain by the TV. You know what's shockingly sad? The appearance of Mae Young to traumatize Eric Bischoff just might be the most entertaining part of this entire pay-per-view. Also, WWE spoils the fact that the 3rd stage of the Redneck Triathlon will be a hog pen match due to there being a hog pen conveniently set up and ready to go. The chainsaw earlier was one thing, but WWE would not build a hog pen and not utilize it.
That's 2-0. Stone Cold Steve Austin is the winner.
Technically no, because how do we know you're not going to forfeit either, thus causing both players to forfeit the second round? Mae Young is a dick to Eric's Bischoff's. Guess his W was no longer C and W's anymore. And not just from the low blow either. Mae Young and her crazy antics, ladies and gentlemen. Not to mention Jerry Lawler's reaction gets me every single time. Stone Cold Steve Austin may have lost the pie eating contest, but he absolutely won the best moment of the shit show that was Bad Blood 2003 contest. I never liked the idea of tag teams entering with their own separate music. Even teams that don't get along should enter together because it's funnier that way. Unfortunately, there are teams that do get along these days yet enter to their own music. Even if Rob Van Dam still countered, it's about time wrestlers did something except stand around when their opponent starts taunting in front of them.
And the Raw got any squab recipes?
Screw the match in progress, let's talk about squab recipes. This event totally doesn't need any momentum to build after the first disastrous hour.
Test the fact that they're on American soil.
Wrestlers from other countries hate the fact that they're stepping on American soil cliche, one of the most overused tropes in professional wrestling.
We haven't seen a lot of teamwork from Kane and Rob Van Dam.
And you're shocked at that?
And
Wrestler accidentally is knocked into his own partner, which causes them to lose the match cliche. And that literally spells the end of Kane and Rob Van Dam's tag team title reign immediately. Boy, this has not been a good show whatsoever. Another 5 sins. For the love of God, I told you guys to give me a push-open door so that I can headbutt it on the way to the ring. Turns out it's not just the quality of the matches tonight that have been horrible. The timing of the pyrotechnics are way off due to exploding 15 seconds after Goldberg did his signature punches and kicks.
Charles Robinson as a sheep.
I'm shocked the referee did not disqualify both Chris Jericho and Goldberg due to both wrestlers putting their hands on him and tossing him around. Chris Jericho spends practically this entire match running away from Goldberg, yet chooses to spit on him any chance he gets. Spitting on anyone is always a sin. First, Goldberg is addicted to Chris Jericho's, and now he shoves the referee over again. How has he not gotten disqualified twice by this point? More favoritism like the match with Booker T and Christian earlier tonight?
It may be now. I think Goldberg's bleeding.
You think Goldberg is bleeding? We got a clear shot of his obviously bleeding head, and you think that Goldberg is bleeding right now?
So, feeling the effects of it.
Whatever Chris Jericho was feeling the effects of, they definitely weren't the effects of Goldberg's knee to his midsection, given that missed Chris completely.
Goldberg in his career, nobody.
Hip toss attempt failed and almost caused Chris Jericho to land badly on his head. Crazy that this isn't the only match tonight that has quite the miscommunications.
Lack of a better term. Look at that!
How many wrestlers are going to be almost damaged in the head tonight? Though this time I put it on the victim because Goldberg was in a terrible position for the lion salt.
Where did he have that strength?
Where did he have that strength? Jerry Lawler has somehow never seen a single Goldberg match in his life despite being on commentary for practically his entire WWE run here, even if it was short. That was less of a spear and more of a clothesline gone wrong. As I mentioned before, WWE already has a pig pen set up and ready to go, complete with pigs, mud, slop, and waste. Huh, I wonder if that's the final contest in the Redneck Triathlon, or if that's just a pure coincidence.
Yes!
The wheel lands on sing-off, meaning Eric Bischoff and Steve Austin must compete in a singing contest for the final round of the Redneck Triathlon. Unfortunately, Steve Austin changes the rules and forces both men to compete in a hog pen match. Eric Bischoff got screwed if you ask me, and it's wrong that Steve won by this bullshit.
Have you ever heard me sing? Do I sing very good?
You don't sing very good.
Can't blame Terry Runnels for being honest here. Stone Cold changes the rules of the Redneck Triathlon simply because he's mad that he can't sing. He's been bending the rules against Eric Bischoff all night long, and I am convinced that Eric is a better redneck than Steve without even being one.
Greatest wrestler in the world today.
After the last hour and a half of being frustrated and pissed off at this poorly executed event, now I'm caught up in my emotions with this video package. Gotta love the build-up between Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair even 5 years before the big retirement match. Copy Flair infringement, although I also believe the walk on Ric Flair's back was hilarious. May have been a bad move because Shawn Michaels possibly cracked Ric's back, putting it in place and making him more dangerous. Shawn Michaels somehow fell for Ric Flair's classic begging for mercy and then taking advantage trick, the literal oldest trick in the wrestling book.
That was quick.
If there's anything I love about Earl Hebner, it's when he gets shoved and then shoves the wrestler's back. I can disqualify you, but I can also kick your ass if I have to. The referee conveniently chose to stand this close to the corner right as Shawn Michaels is about to push Ric Flair in that direction, but not into the other times when these two were in the corner of the ring. Ric Flair's attempt at doing the Shawn Michaels corner flip gone wrong. I give him props for the attempt, but it definitely isn't the best idea to execute at his age. Tables are exciting, but when they're brought out in a traditional wrestling match that has disqualifications and countouts, it seems so random, especially when the Dudley Boys are not involved in the non-hardcore match.
Is he gonna show that much disrespect?
Putting someone through a table in professional wrestling somehow qualifies as disrespecting them. Boy, how many wrestlers have been disrespected over the years if that's the case. Putting someone through a table qualifies as utilizing a weapon and thus are grounds for disqualification, and yet Shawn Michaels is somehow allowed to do this to Ric Flair. Perhaps this is Earl getting his revenge on Ric for pushing him earlier. It's one thing for a referee to not see a low blow, but in this case he literally was on the receiving end of the low blow. Did this match get changed into no disqualification rules or something? Ow, my hands! Also, victory due to outside interference is always a sin. Eric Bischoff is still reeling from the Mae Young incident earlier tonight, yet was not affected 20 minutes ago when he celebrated getting the sing-off competition in the final round of the Redneck Triathlon. Eric Bischoff figures he can get away by lip-syncing his theme song due to a lot of music talents doing the same thing at live concerts.
Stop the music!
What the hell are you not doing in the ring right now? It's clear that Stone Cold was always going to respin the wheel.
I want to hear you sing, Eric.
By this count, Steve Austin has accepted that the sing-off is official, which means that Eric Bischoff automatically wins the Redneck Triathlon by forfeit once again when Steve chooses to bring in the hog pin match.
I'm back!
Even with Eric actually singing his song, it still sucks because he's off sync with the beat, and I blame the production for not at least giving him a count-in. I get that Eric is supposed to be the bad guy here, but screwing over the bad guy in the dumbest way possible is when I really start booing the good guy.
That was good!
That's pathetic.
Oh, like you can do any better? At least Eric Bischoff actually attempted to sing good. You just quit without even trying. Once again, your real winner is Eric Bischoff!
I'm undeputizing!
I don't even know what's going on anymore. I personally have given up on the show, and we haven't even gone to the gosh darn Hell in a Cell match that I also forgot was going to happen due to the lack of great action. I think these events were called Bad Blood because WWE just knew there were going to be bad events that would boil my blood inside. Another 100 sins. Stone Cold Steve Austin threw Eric Bischoff right into this pay-per-view concept. Let's be honest, we only know Bad Blood because of Hell in a Cell, but everything else was forgotten of completely.
Triple H injures referee Tim White.
What the footage failed to show you was the fact that it was Chris Jericho who knocked Tim White into the cell. Sure, Triple H pushed Chris, but Tim being hit was an accident. Afterward, Chris got so upset with Tim and beat the crap out of him, causing him to bleed profusely. So why are these referees blaming Hunter for something that wasn't even his fault in the first place?
I'm not going to do the Hell in a Cell match.
None of these referees agree to officiate the Hell in a Cell match involving Triple H because of how dangerous he is, but then go on to officiate future Hell in a Cell matches involving Triple H despite how dangerous he is.
I retired Mick Foley.
Despite the fact that Mick Foley literally competed in the main event of WrestleMania not even 2 months after this supposed retirement. Oh yeah, Kevin Nash is involved in this match. After the whole deal of Triple H being super dangerous and Mick Foley taking over as the referee, I had completely forgotten that Kevin Nash is supposed to be the challenger for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which I had also forgotten is involved in this match. No pun intended, but what a bad build-up.
Winner here tonight!
I know that weapons are obviously allowed inside Hell in a Cell, but any championship on the line inside the match are usually taken out of the cage before it lowers or gets locked. This shot right here is the perfect representation of this main event. Triple H locked against Mick Foley while Kevin Nash, the challenger for the title, looks on in the background. How sad.
I think Triple H can do this. That wasn't Triple H's fault.
And yet the Tim White incident was somehow Hunter's fault. Being tossed into the deadly cage and then thrown in the air with a back body drop from some of the height of Kevin Nash, complete with a splat. It's moments like that where this match gets brutal.
What is steel chair doing inside a Hell in a Cell?
This match concept has existed for 6 years at this point. By now, we've seen Mankind go sailing off the top of the roof 3 times, later falling into thumbtacks twice, Rikishi crashing into a truck of wood chips, and a flaming 2x4 covered in barbed wire. But Jerry Lawler draws the line at a simple chair being used inside a Hell in a Cell match.
Well, Triple H's got a little work to do here tonight.
Haha, fuck you.
Hammer!
Nobody knows Kevin Nash more than Hunter, so what does he do? He goes straight for the quadriceps, because of course he does. Quad jokes, y'all.
Mick Foley!
Hunter is surprised that Mick Foley actually shoved him back when he chose to get confrontational. Did you somehow forget the brawl you two had this past Monday night on Raw? Not to mention this is Mick fucking Foley?
Driving that screwdriver.
Hunter is screwing over Kevin Nash and driving me crazy. Why isn't anybody laughing? Why am I getting so many middle fingers right now? Huh, I guess this is what it feels like to be on the other end of this situation.
He blocked it with his head. Oh.
Jerry Lawler claims that Hunter blocked the barbed wire 2x4 with his head, and mere seconds later, the replay appears and proves him wrong by showing us that Hunter blocked it with his hand, yet somehow his head is lacerated as a result of that. Blading is a sin, but if he was going to blade anything, it probably should have been his palm, as it doesn't make sense for his head to bleed from it.
You gotta be kidding!
Snake Eyes on the barbed wire 2x4 was an excellent decision on the part of Kevin Nash. Let's get this brutality going. We already had a terrible show. Let's at least finish it off with a bang.
That sledgehammer.
Mick Foley showing favoritism is shockingly not the first or the second match that this has happened tonight. Too late, Mick. We already saw you blade before Hunter could even turn in your direction to whack you with a chair, even if the chair shot was deserved due to Mick helping out Kevin Nash.
Steps again. Oh! Oh, this is ugly.
Kevin Nash clearly saw that he hit Mick Foley with the stairs and still went for the pin, knowing full well that Mick is knocked out. I would have at least said, whoops, sorry I wasn't trying to hit you, and make sure he was aware of the situation before going for the pin. WWE going for a repeated Judgment Day from last year, and I gotta say that was a brutal landing on Mick Foley's part. As always, the hardcore legend takes the most brutality even if he is the referee of a Hell in a Cell match. Man, this is awesome.
Yes, that's his. The game goes.
Kevin Nash is clearly watching Hunter reaching for the sledgehammer and acquiring it, yet somehow does not see the obvious sledgehammer shot to the face coming. And he doesn't even have blood in his eyes either. That's Hunter who does.